Hey everybody, BTO Pro here. Today I'm going to give you a bit of a tour into how we go about making a change in HAX. Hopefully this will help illuminate a bit of our process that I know, especially from talking to people at HAX Camp, it's kind of a mystery if you're not familiar with some of the JavaScript concepts and just like workflow management in the space. And so I don't blame you. It's confusing. But effectively all of the elements that our team makes, of which we have over 300 now, work in what's called a monorepo approach. So a monorepo, it's something you can search for. We use a program called Lerna to interface with this, but effectively it just means that you have a single repository, single issue queue that then has all of your components in it. Now that doesn't mean that you have to adopt all of the components in it. You can find our components under LRN Web Components is the name of our monorepo, and then in Elements. So under Elements, if I search for HAX, I can find the HAX tag. Now you can also find grid plate, git corner, HAX body hero banner, HTML block, a hexagon loader, right? Anything that we work on is in here. And they all live in parallel as part of a monorepo approach, which means whenever we find an issue in, say, the HAX or Slevin theme that I just found an issue the other day, if I wanted to work on just that, I can go into this repo, I can run yarn start, which yarn is just a task runner package management tool. So I can run yarn start, and our tooling that we put in place ahead of time to set all this in motion will make sure that the developer experience is uniform no matter what element we work on. Now, this means that our team, right, we've got 4 people doing a lot of core development work. Our team gets to work in an entirely uniform manner, but yet we always do pushes and pull requests up against a single repository. So that way, when you're working across a bunch of different elements potentially, those elements can remain separate, but the team doesn't get all out of sync as far as version control, what version are we working on. Effectively, the monorepo is kept on master. So this is just always on master, things contributed to master. The elements themselves get published independently up to npm.js as far as the registry. So if I search for LRN Web Components / video player, for example, you can find the video player that we've made. You can see it was updated 24 days ago, but when our team works on it, we're only working in a single repository. But if you want to implement something from it, like if you want to implement video player, notice you don't have all the dependencies of our entire tree. You have these 7 dependencies, and then some development dependencies for working locally. So if you wanted to just adopt video player, you could, and just use that in one of your own projects or to create your own element that maybe you wrap it in. But if you wanted to do work on video player itself, you'd clone our repository of all our components, do a yarn install, and then work on just that component. So with that definition out of the way, let's make a change to HAX. So there's something that I know I need to change in HAX. I don't like the way that our little panel displays the buttons. I'll show you what I mean. So what I do when I want to work on just HAX is I start in the LRN Web Components directory, I go to /elements, and then I know this change is actually in HAX body, but we're going to work in the project called HAX, as that's the name of the tag. So from here, I can run yarn start. Now I could go in any of our directories. Like if I wanted to go into the video player, I could go here and write in yarn start, just to demonstrate that this is going to do 2 separate things. You see it's going to run some process in the background, and then it's going to kick me over to a little documentation site. Now, as just a timing inefficiency thing, occasionally it'll load and it's not going to show you the full thing. You might have to refresh. There we go. And it'll basically present to you the documentation of the video player in this case. Now, because of the way that our setup works, you could go to any of the elements and perform that same thing. Do yarn start and you'll get into a little area that looks like this, and you can start to mess with it in a demo space. So what's happening in the background is that there's a watch going on. And so it's watching for changes in the scope of this folder. So what I'll do is I'll open another window, and I'll go over to video player. I'll open that, whoops, open, bring this over. So in video player, and this is the structure of all of our elements, they all follow the same pattern. There's always a demo folder that controls what you see in the demo in that iframe. there's always an SRC folder, and this is where you actually work on and manipulate what this project is. In this case, video-player.js. So if I open video-player.js, I can work on just the JS side of it. If I open the CSS, I can work on just the CSS side. So if I delete this and then hit save, we'll see in this other window that it just went through this analyze, merge, analyze, oh, there we go, analyze it again. And so what it's doing is on the fly, this little dev thing that's running here in this watch, is it's taking these files and then smashing them together to create the new version of the video-player.js, which is the thing that the browser actually sees. So there's all the HTML and that little CSS block. If I go back in here and I refresh that, you'll see this file auto-updated to re-include that CSS. So this is a decision we made just from an onboarding standpoint that was huge, is that we have our styles, our structure, and our logic largely kept abstract from each other. We've also got support for tags and the properties that power our element as separate things. Now, we don't always, keep strictly to doing it as these different parts in our tooling. We could just have a .js file. But we found a lot of success with onboarding new people, especially people more familiar with CSS and HTML as opposed to JavaScript, to this approach, because they could easily come in, know exactly the file to work on to maybe add a CSS class to this div, and then write the correct CSS selector here. And it's easy enough to teach someone, hey, you run yarn start, and you've got it. So I'm going to clip the video here. This will be a multi-part, but this is just kind of a preview into how our team works on anything because of a monorepo approach. So next one, we're going to go over to HAX, and I'm going to run the exact same yarn start to start working in that, and we'll pick up from there.